I don't know about you, but I love board game conventions, especially the ones that are focused on open gaming, where I get to meet new people, hang with friends, and play board games all day long. That's why I always look forward to BGG Spring and BGG Con. This year's BGG Spring is coming up and runs from May 22nd to May 26th at the Hyatt Regency Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. So you can basically hop off the plane and jump into your first game in no time. It's well over 50% sold out, and hotel rooms are going fast. And then later this year, BGG Con is coming back to the Hyatt Regency in downtown Dallas from November 19th to the 23rd. Badges are on sale now. I hope you can join us for one or both of these awesome play cons and have a blast binging board games in our growing library, which has over 9,000 games. Hope to see you there. This episode is sponsored by Lookout Games. Episode 67 of the Board Game Geek podcast, where we geek out about board games, the mechanisms behind them, and the people who create them. I'm your host, Candace Harris, and I am super pumped to be here today with game designer Johnny Chin, who also is the organizer of Game Market West. How's it going, Johnny?
Hey, Candace. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing just fine and dandy. We're recording on a Sunday morning, which is kind of a rare thing, but it's a nice little Easter treat here.
Definitely.
So what's new in your world?
Yeah, so recently had two events. One of them was Unpub, and it was the first Unpub that I've ever been to. So it was just great to see a ton of games in development and naturally test some of my own as well. It's on the East Coast, so definitely was a little bit of a flight for me from the San Francisco Bay Area, but it was a great time. And the second event was Game Market West that wrapped up a few weeks ago, March 23rd, and got to see a ton of great games there, meet fellow designers, indie designers, and just had a great time overall within the past month.
Awesome. On my end, I have started getting into painting miniatures. I have dabbled multiple times, but now I'm realizing like so many of my favorite games lately have minis. So I'm like, I want to paint these things. I just kind of find it therapeutic. Have you ever painted any minis or anything?
I haven't, but I just love the look of minis. And I think for me, anything that involves like art, I'm just terrible at. So I'm super envious of those people who have like the dexterity, right, to actually paint all the fine details.
Yeah.
But it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not great at it either, but I'm just messing around now with trying to do some like washes and dry brushing. My good friend Steven has been helping me a bit. I did a live stream with Lincoln like a year or so ago where he helped me paint a Nemesis like alien. And when I look at that thing, I'm like, how did I do this? Like, like he really held my hand. And then another friend, Bruce, he helped me like paint a Warhammer mini one time. So I've dabbled probably in the past couple of years, but now I feel like I'm like wanting to like really get into it. So that's been kind of fun, just like in between doing stuff at the end of the night and the first thing in the morning, I've been just like painting and just kind of checking out with that, which is really cool. But I know like from what I hear, like it can get very expensive. And I'm one of those people that definitely like goes deep with stuff that I get into. So I'm going to try to just ease into it.
Makes a ton of sense. I mean, I know you can just on games such as Marvel United alone, you could spend, a ton on the minis. And I'm kind of curious, like, is it expensive just buying the minis, or is it more about the supplies necessary and tools necessary?
So I think the games that I have that have the minis, like Cthulhu, Death May Die, Guards of Atlantis 2. I was just talking about I want to paint my Black Rose Wars, Rebirth minis, and The Witcher has minis. Nemesis has minis. So the minis are just like part of the games, but games that come with nice minis are typically a little more expensive. But I think where it gets really expensive is when you start getting a bunch of different paints, and like I have a little budget airbrusher that I haven't used yet, but you have the paints, the washes, the primer, the brushes, and then there's, with all the other little accessories. So we'll see. I'm gonna try to keep it mellow, but I am really enjoying it, and I hope to be able to share some photos and videos of, as I get better at these. I'd love to show people, because I totally feel you. Like, I'm not artistically talented in that, like illustrating or painting or anything. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. But first I need to make sure I know how to do it.
That's great.
Thanks. And then of course, like, I've been just still so hooked on Black Rose Wars Rebirth. I had a game last week where we played a 4-player game, and the last 3 schools of magic that I hadn't tried, we got to play with Druidic, Death, and Oracle. And they're super neat. We found out we made some mistakes with 2 of them. So I'm really like excited to revisit them, because I was like, like either I'm just like not good at playing this school, or there's something not right. And of course, like, I looked up the errata later and found out, okay, we messed up. So anyways, Johnny, since you are the Game Market West organizer, today we're going to be talking about Game Market West, what it's all about, and we're going to highlight some indie games that have been available at Game Market West events.
Yeah, and just a little intro on everyone who hasn't heard what Game Market West is. It's a in-person tabletop game market to really help indie designers showcase and sell their newest games. So I'm super excited to be talking about it, and it's always amazing to me to see how a game starts from just an idea in someone's head to become a full-fledged physical product.
I am definitely like loving just the, seeing more indie designers get their games out there, even if it's like small print runs or, they're making them themselves. It's just cool to have a way for people to get their games out there, and then also for people to buy them and to check them out, and it might inspire them to make games. But before we start talking about Game Market West and highlighting some of the indie games that we've been playing, I'd love to hear what you've been playing lately, Johnny. So let's jump into fresh plays.
So the first game I have is My Favorite Things.
Yes.
It was first released in 2015, and I want to say it was at one of the Tokyo game markets, but it was recently re-released internationally in 2024 by Play for Keeps. And it's a trick-taking party game about ranking your favorite things. And the caveat that I like to mention, because I'm a huge trick-taking fan, is I'm sure there's going to be a debate on whether this is a trick-taking game or not. So, but for me, right, I think the experience that you get out of this is really more of a party game, and that's what's important. And it's not to really figure out like the strategic part about like, oh, what beats what, right?
Right.
That's very, very common for a trick taking game to know, like, oh, if you play this, then I'm going to play this, and this is how it's going to, how I would win. And so that's what I really enjoy about this game, right? And I think it doesn't have the same group dependency issues or as much as most party games, because it's really about getting to know each other literally, right? Because you're ranking what are your favorite things in a certain category. So for example, how the game would play is that each person would write down a topic and then pass it to someone else, and they would write down their 5 favorite things on a topic. And usually it helps to be very detailed about what that topic is. So rather than like your favorite board game, right, it could be like, oh, your favorite board game, maybe specifically trick taking or a specific mechanic as well, right? And I've really enjoyed my plays of it. And I've also heard you've played it a few times as well, right, Candace?
Yeah. It is like such a unique kind of experience. I found it really fascinating and fun. I love that not only are you picking your favorite things, but you're also picking one thing that you don't like. And then when you do play the tricks, it's kind of hilarious. Like, you are learning stuff about people. Like, I think I came up with a band name based on one of our resolved tricks. And I think it was like Clank Legacy and the 80/20 burgers. So just like seeing what kind of gets played, the cards that get played into the trick, because everybody's picking different categories. It's super cool. It's just a fun way to learn stuff about people. And I would also consider it more of a party game. But yeah, every time I've played it, it's been like a wow kind of experience. And I've since handed my copy off to close friends of ours who just moved. And I'm like, I need to get it again.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I've played it quite a few times now, and I think it's one of the few games that I've had the other players really say like, "Oh, let's play it again. Let's play it again." And I was kind of fascinated by how much they enjoyed it. But it's also, I mean, I enjoyed it a lot myself. So
cool.
A good time.
Awesome. That's my favorite things. And I think the original version was like my favorite things, right?
Correct. And I think it just been replaced with like an actual
eyeball.
On the cover now. Yeah.
Awesome. So the first game I'm going to mention is technically not a board game. It is a tabletop RPG that I got at Gen Con from Renegade Games, and it's called Alice is Missing. And Alice is Missing is designed by Spencer Stark, and it was published originally by Hunters Entertainment in 2020. I think they had a Kickstarter for it, and now I guess Renegade is distributing it or maybe co-publishing, not really sure. But this is a tabletop RPG that plays with 3 to 5 players, and it's a one-shot kind of experience. Like, you are not going to like get together with a group multiple times. You are going to plan to just like get your group, plan for like a 3-hour experience, and fire it up. And have you ever heard of this, Johnny?
Yeah, I have. I don't play RPGs as much, and I definitely want to more of. It's such an interesting dynamic between like having a story as a game rather than like mechanically going through things, and your takeaway from the experience is almost a shared memory, which I would say definitely board games try to help bring as well. But definitely would like to learn more and play more of these.
For sure. Like same here. And I think these like kind of one-shot experiences are going to be the way to go, because I can't see anytime soon where I would have time to do like a weekly RPG group, you know, like a recurring campaign or anything like that. But I will mention too that someone at Renegade Games hooked me up with a copy of Alice is Missing and the Silent Falls expansion when I was at Gen Con. Just want to shout that out. But it's something that I've been talking about playing forever. And the other night was just like, let's finally play that. And so the premise here is we are high school. I think we're all like high school students. And we are discovering that our friend Alice, or someone, she's not always the friend, but Alice has been missing, and we kind of need to figure out what happened. So the way it like works is the first 45 minutes of the game, you're going to like, everybody's going to get a character, and then you're going to like come up with some backstory information, and they have these like drive cards that you'll get one randomly. And then so everybody will kind of like, after you have some time to brainstorm, everybody will share their character's relationship with Alice and, you know, talk about like what they look like, what their pronouns are. You know, you're really trying to like paint a picture, and then everybody's going to do this. And we played this with 5. And you can kind of like build off each other's stories, like the way the drive cards prompt you and the like relationships, it kind of almost naturally, it kind of just like sets you in the world. And then after you make your characters, you have this deck of suspect cards. So, and there are 2 copies of each suspect. So you'll just like lay out each unique suspect. And then you also have a deck of locations, and you'll lay out all of the unique locations. And then everybody is going to basically go around the table and like draft one of those cards, either a location or a suspect, and talk about why this particular location was special to Alice or how it could be related to why she's missing. And then like suspect wise, you know, you're going to say like, why is this person a potential suspect? So we all do that. So we're kind of like, again, building the world, setting up the story together. And then after that, you put on this playlist, this 90-minute playlist that's just on the web, on their website, like Alice is Missing. I don't know, you just Google it. But the playlist is a timer, but also has music because I don't know if I mentioned this yet or not, but Alice is Missing is a silent RPG. So after we've done all the like the character kind of development, then we don't talk anymore. So basically, we're going to take our characters and we're going to make a group chat to text each other. But first, we're going to change all of our names in our phones to match our characters. And so the bulk of the game, we're only texting each other in character. And the other thing is you have these like event cards that you play with. So as the 90-minute timer ticks down, there are going to be times where somebody has an event, they'll look at it themselves, and then it'll build on the story a bit. But again, no one's talking, we're just texting. And it is really wild. Like they put a lot of warnings in at the beginning. Obviously, like an RPG experience about a missing girl could bring some topics that people are not comfortable discussing. So they're like, they kind of prime you to make sure everything's cool with everybody. And if something's not, like there's an X card where you could say like, hey, I don't want to talk about anything like suicide related, or I don't want to talk about anything that's like this, or, you know, so it's pretty flexible. And at the beginning, we're like, okay, sure. Cause, you know, I know the people I'm playing with and nobody was like really too worried about it. But by the end, there were emotions and it was just a really, really fascinating experience. And the music that they have on that 90-minute playlist is very, very cool. So I don't know. It was so different. And I don't know, we really enjoyed it. And I'm glad I have the expansion now too, because you can replay it with, they recommend probably with different players if you're going to play just like the core base box, because there are like lots of different events. So you won't necessarily see the same event card prompts. You might be a different character. So you can replay it with different groups, but it was very, very unique. The other thing is I'll mention is there's a poster. So they have all these posters of different versions of what Alice could be for your game. And so you're supposed to print them out and pick a random one. I just printed one. And so we're building our whole story around this character that we have a missing poster of. And it was really, really, really unique. And I still haven't changed everyone's names in my phone. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, that's Alice is Missing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed when you're explaining how it goes from a progression of when you're setting up your characters that everyone's actually building the story off each other. Because I think oftentimes in these RPGs, right, everyone's head down, kind of creating their own characters. So I really like that. And as you mentioned, it goes into silent texting, which also is really unique. but also that's a way to actually resolve these events, right? There's not really like dice rolling or anything along the lines. It's really narrative driven. So it sounds like it all comes together in a great package.
Yeah, and the other thing I didn't say before the 90-minute timer starts is that we all have to like basically go out of the room where nobody can hear and record a voicemail for Alice. The last voicemail we left her before we found out she was missing. And at the very end, you play them back. So we were just like use the voice recorder on my phone to do it. But that was neat. So they're just like a lot of really neat mechanisms in this. I don't have a ton of experience with RPGs, but we found it to just be really, really fascinating. And you're sitting around the table with people. You could also do this remotely though, since it's like mostly text based. But with the soundtrack was just like really, really good and definitely like evoke emotions as you're like talking and trying to like figure things out. Just to give you a frame of reference, the event cards are usually like, it might tell you to draw a suspect, and it might tell you something or prompt you with a question related to whatever suspect you flip. And then you have to like kind of like type info to the team, or to the chat thread. So anyways, that is Alice is Missing. Definitely worth checking out. It's a small box if you're RPG curious and that theme and setting doesn't turn you off a bit or make you uncomfortable. Like, it's definitely worth checking out.
I'll check it out as well.
Cool.
So I've also been playing Motcoin, which for me, I think is a hidden gem. And I know it has a cryptocurrency theme, and that probably deters a lot of people. But don't let that stop you, because it's an amazing game. It's made by my favorite Japanese designer. His, I guess, English nickname is More, or that's the name of, I guess, his designer name. And it was released in 2023 by like 4 Designer Game Collective in Japan. They show up pretty often at Tokyo Game Market. And so really it's an auction game, and you're using dice as your counters or currency. So it's really intriguing. And how you do that is essentially there's like, cryptocurrency that you're bidding on, and that has a value of like 1 to 24, I believe. And as you're bidding using your dice, you are trying to get very low values onto the dice, because that's how you pay for the card, because that's how you pay for it, right? And when that happens, everyone else removes their dice off of any existing coins that they have, because what the dice are at the end of the game, it's like a multiplicative negative, like basically the whole game is like you're trying to earn as much money as possible. And so that basically counts against you, right? So it's this nice push and pull of like, hey, how much am I willing to pay for this dice? And it's essentially a countdown timer, negative timer against you, right? On whether you win or lose, these auctions. And it's just such a great game. And another, I would say, big hook of the game is it kind of borrows from No Thanks, where if you stack multiple sequential coins on top of each other, let's say you have 3 coins, like 12 to 14, then you combine all of them to become 14. So instead of like 12 plus 13 plus 14, they're all like 14 valued coins. And you also get to remove all those penalty dice off the 12 and 13 at the end of the game. So it's this, it's a really nice. And one thing I'll say is, because it's definitely very, very hard to find this game, unlike My Favorite Things, that there wasn't an international release. But the designer has done a reprint campaign in Japan only. And so if you are going to Tokyo Game Market next month, you can actually pick it up there. So at least it's like perfect timing that I played this recently, and there are copies available soon.
Very nice. And you're going, right?
Yes, I'm going. Very excited about that.
Awesome. I've never heard of this one, Motcoin. Have you ever played Cryptrick?
I have.
How is that one? Because that's something I picked up a while ago when I was like dabbling in importing games from Japan, but I haven't played it. So just curious if you've tried it and how it plays in comparison to this.
Yeah, I would say Cryptrick naturally is a cryptocurrency trick taking game, right?
Yeah.
And I would say it's pretty simple at its base, but I remember the kind of unique part about it is that there's a part of trick resolution, I believe, that when you win a trick, that like you get to manipulate, I think, what coins you win, I want to say. And so
Okay.
it's a lot simpler, but because of that extra twist, right, you can kind of manipulate what coins I guess it is set collection, like what coins you get and you don't get. And I think that's what makes it really intriguing. It's definitely been a while since I played that. So
Yeah. I was just kind of curious because like I like at some point I bought a handful of games, and I don't think a lot of them didn't have English rules or anything, so I haven't played them yet. But I also like Trick and Trade, for another like crypto or Bitcoin related card game. Like Trick and Trade is one that I really love, and I really hope that somebody prints that and makes it more widely available in the US.
definitely, yeah, that one's like has more of a market, I think, mechanic tied to it, and it's
Yes.
surprising. I remember it was like I think it said 30 or 45 minutes on the box, and when I was playing, I was like, "How is this possible? It's only like 8 tricks, right?" And then I started, I was like, "Wow, there's definitely some decisions to be made here on what what values of what coins go up and down." But yeah, it's
because you get to draft a share of one of the 4 companies, and meanwhile I think maybe the winner of the trick is playing a card that's dictating the value, and so the players are kind of manipulating the value of each company, and then you're drafting shares, and then at the end, like, one of the companies is going to be worth 3 points per share, another like 2, and then one is I think 1, and then it's like -1 or something. So you're like trying to avoid the company that is probably going to be worth the the negative value. But anyway, yeah, it's one of those one hand of card trick taking games, like also Trick of the Rails.
yeah. And one thing I guess I probably should retcon the Cryptrick is actually the main mechanism is that you actually offer the lead by trading the lead card for other cards before the round starts, and so that's actually the main. I guess I just quickly looked it up just to make sure whether I was right or not. Cool. But that's the main thing. But it's interesting that these, I think, all came out at the same time, which I guess cryptocurrency was getting very hot as a theme in Japan around 2023, 2024. Yeah. So yeah, very interesting. Or I guess 2023.
You could have a whole game night with Cryptcoin games.
Seriously. I mean, I do wish they would make the theme a little bit more accessible.
Yeah,
maybe it's...
because some people are probably going to be like, just completely avoid it. But it could be reskinned, all these could be reskinned.
Definitely.
But anyway, Motcoin sounds really fascinating for an auction game. I'm gonna have to try and track down a copy of that one.
Yeah.
Eventually. Cool. The second game I'll mention is when I first got into modern games, one of the earliest games that we picked up was Libertalia. And at some point when it went out of print, and I was like, okay, I've kind of like feel like I've outgrown that game a little bit. So I sold it off. And then, in 2022, the new version, Libertalia Winds of Galecrest, came out. This is a game by Paulo Mori, and it's a very, I guess, like, very accessible game. You can play with people who don't play a lot of games, and it's not that hard to learn and like grasp the rules. But the new version is from Stonemaier Games, and it plays with 1 to 6 players. And it was funny, the last episode 66, we were talking about 6-player games, and someone commented like, oh, how do you not bring up Libertalia? And I was like, you know what? I totally forgot that I just rebought this. And it just so happened that I had a situation where a gamer friend's girlfriend was in town visiting and they stopped by, and she doesn't play a lot of games. So I was like, let's play Libertalia. Like, it's, it's like a 45-minute to an hour game. It looks good. It's really, really fun. But anyway, the premise is, for those who aren't familiar with Libertalia, it is a pirate-themed game where in the Winds of Galecrest version, everybody has a deck of 40 different pirate cards, and all these pirates have different abilities, and then they'll have like a number on them, like a rank from 1 to 40. And you play the game over 3 voyages or 3 rounds, and each voyage is going to be a number of days. And for each day, you're going to pull these treasure tokens, loot tokens, they're called loot tokens. And you're going to put, like if we're playing a 4-player game, you're going to pull out of this bag 4 loot tokens and seed them for each day of the voyage. Then one player is going to shuffle their deck of pirate cards, and then they're going to draw 6 of them and then tell everybody else which numbers they drew. And so everybody will then start Voyage 1 with the same hand of 6 character cards. Then you play the game, and as you play the game, the first thing you're going to do is pick a pirate from your hand, one of the cards. Everybody's going to put it face down, and then you simultaneously reveal them, and you're going to place them in order from left to right, rank lowest to highest on the island section of the main board. And then you resolve the day phase, dusk phase, and then night phase. And day phase starts with the lowest ranked pirate and goes forward. And some of the characters have a day phase ability. It'll have a little sun icon. And so all those abilities would trigger starting with the lowest ranked pirate forward. And the abilities are just wild. One of them is like, just remove the pirate that's in the furthest right slot of the island. So that player is SOL for this particular round. Not all of them are just like straight up mean like that, but you just go through, you do all the daytime effects. Then you go to dusk, and that resolves from highest rank backwards. And dusk is when you are going to draft the loot tokens. So if you play the higher cards, you get to pick a loot token first. And some of the loot tokens are better than others. Like they each have an ability tied to it. And then there are also some bad ones. I think they're called like relics or something. So the order in which you get to draft these tiles is important. And one of the cool things about the new version of Libertalia is that it has these tokens that are like Azul pieces, really nice, chunky, colorful pieces that feel great. And if there are any ties, there's also like this reputation track. But after you trigger all the dusk abilities and everybody gets one, then everybody plays another pirate card face down. And you do that again until, the end of the voyage when you've played all the days. So after voyage 1, which is 4 days, everybody's going to have 2 cards still in their hand. Well, likely 2 cards still in their hand, and they might be different. So then you start a new voyage, and you have that same player draw, I think, 6 more cards, and then everybody like adds those 6 pirates to their hand, and you just kind of keep playing. But it's such a fun game, and it's just wild, like the mind games that you can play with people, because it's like, like, is Johnny gonna play the low card because his reputation is higher than me, so his card will go ahead of mine? But maybe he won't do that. Maybe he cares about something else. It's just like lots of laughs, lots of shenanigans. The abilities are cool because there's so many 40 different pirate cards. Like every game is going to be like a little bit different. The other thing is that this version, I don't remember if the old version had a 2-player mode. This also has a solo mode I haven't tried, but the 2-player works surprisingly well the way that's designed. So Libertalia is just like a great family weight game that is pretty easy to teach. looks good. The game board is double-sided, so the other side is like the stormy side, and the abilities for each loot token change up. There are also these tiles you can put on to kind of change the abilities. So there's lots of like variety in the game, and it's super cool. Have you ever played Libertalia, Johnny?
I haven't, but I've been searching for a copy for quite a while, and all of the things you said really resonated with me, right? In terms of, I mean, I love games that that allow you to play a lot of mind games, and it's interesting the point you made about the player scaling, because I think I've heard it's definitely best at higher player counts, but a lot of people seem to enjoy it at lower player counts, and I know the chaos is part of the fun, but I think
Yes.
there's also some fun in like with less players, right? That there's more control as well. So it's surprising that it works across the scale for player counts as well.
Yeah, and the thing with the 2-player mode is you have this like board. You have this board that you overlay on the main island, and it basically is, I think it's like a number like 20.5. So like if both players play below 20.5, their cards are going to be on one side of that card. And then there's some rule where it basically still gives that element of, oh, I don't know, like, am I going to get to have the highest rank, or am I going to get screwed and have the lowest? So yeah, so I would say like the 2-player version is pretty good. And yeah, 4 was great. Don't know if I've ever played it with 3, but yeah, upwards, you're just going to have more fun and chaos. So that's Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest. This time I won't sell it from my collection. I'll keep it.
Or I'll pick it up.
And now a word from our sponsor. Yeehaw, folks! The Great Western Trail story continues. The legendary Great Western Trail trilogy probably needs no introduction. At least one of them is a staple in most gamer shelves. But let's be honest, how often do you manage to put it on your table? Isn't it usually far too late, or does it take your fellow players far too long? This Easter, Lookout Games is handing out cowboy hats to challenge you again with Great Western Trail El Paso, a co-designed by Alexander Pfister and Johannes Kraner, which is part of Lookout's Green Line, manufactured 100% eco-friendly. Great Western Trail El Paso is a strategy game for 1 to 4 players, featuring a unique blend of deck building with a rondel of variable actions and multiple paths to victory. It's a streamlined, compact version of the original Great Western Trail, which allows a faster setup and plays in half the amount of time. This makes it a perfect gateway to the Great Western Trail universe. So whether you're already a fan of the Great Western Trail series or haven't dared to face the bigger beast yet, it's high noon to grab your cowboy hat and get started with Great Western Trail El Paso, available at your friendly local game store this Easter. So Johnny, the main reason I think I know about Game Market West is from my friend Tim, who went, and I don't know if that was the very first one. Like, when did you start doing this, and like what it kind of inspired you to kick it off?
Yeah, so your friend Tim did go to the inaugural Game Market West, which was in October of last year of 2024. And a big reason why I started it was, one, I got into game design myself last year. And 2 was I just came back from my first ever trip to Tokyo Game Market.
Nice.
Which was amazing. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But it really inspired me in the sense that I was almost wondering like why this didn't exist in, you know, the US or other parts of the world. And I remember just chatting about it with a few friends, both online and in person. And there were some perceived challenges, right? Of like, there's not an indie culture here. That's something that only exists in Japan. And we're used to more high production value games, right? Not handmade, print on demand and whatnot.
Right.
And so even in lieu of those challenges, though, I really took it upon myself to start it, right? Because I wanted to see that kind of culture, indie culture here, and kind of spread the innovation as well, because a lot of times you see at these game markets, right, that they're trying out these weird either themes or very novel mechanics, and sometimes it doesn't work, but that's totally fine, right? I think encouraging this and bringing that kind of new mindset to the games that we play is amazing. And so that's really how it all got started.
It was so cute because like when Tim went last year for the inaugural Game Market West in San Jose, he was like sending me pictures of everything, and he brought me back a couple of treats, which is one was your game Golpher, which I appreciate. Golpher. It seemed like a really, really cool event, and so far the games that I've played that have come from that, I've really enjoyed.
No, that's great that you've enjoyed it, and I'm terrible at taking compliments, so if I react oddly, don't worry about it. So I'm glad that you've enjoyed it, and yeah, it's interesting when you talk about the venue specifically. So the first time we did it was in a local gaming store, which yay, local gaming stores, and
Yay.
as the games started to kind of trickle in, and we had a bigger and bigger audience, we decided to move over to our current venue, which is Guild House. And it's really interesting. It's like this kind of community space / beer hall where there's like video games and board games. So it was almost like this perfect storm and kind of combination
nice
of factors that allowed us to move in there. And I think that's our permanent home for the time being, and I'm really excited. Yeah, I also received a lot of compliments on the venue, which was great, right? To see people enjoy the atmosphere, and of course meeting indie designers in person and talking to them. And I think that's something that isn't common, right? Which is weird, right? You're not really talking to the designers about the game. It's usually you're talking to the publisher about the game.
Right.
So that's always been great to see people actually enjoy that, right? Because that's also an unknown, is like, do people really want to know the person behind who made this game? And it turns out they do. Yeah.
Cool. And that's funny that I didn't realize we have guild halls down here in the LA area. I think there's like one in Burbank, and I think there's one in like Orange County or something. But I didn't realize that they were up your way as well. That's cool.
Yeah. I think that's the only one, I want to say, in the Bay Area that does something like that. I'm sure there's like general beer halls, but like specifically one for more like gaming in general. Yeah.
I love that they I think the one time that I went to the one in Burbank, I love that instead of like, like most pubs where you have sports on the TV, they have like people streaming video games on, and that was just it's just like a really cool gamer bar.
Totally. Yeah, the same thing happens, and I actually play test there on a monthly basis, and it's just great. Yeah, being in that atmosphere of like you're having all these Twitch streams going on, and everyone's just enjoying and having a great time. So definitely.
Very cool. So when's the next Game Market West happening?
Yeah, so the next one is September 21st, 2025. Same venue as before, and we're currently looking for designers, and don't be shy, right? Really, anyone can be a designer. In fact, we highly encourage it, and I do my best to give an outsized advantage actually to those who show up with handmade games, print on demand. And so
cool.
Yeah, so if it's your first game, whatever it may be, or your 10th, I mean, it really is in the spirit of what we're trying to do. And you can check it out on our website, right? GameMarketWest.com, and the sign up and information form is all there.
Very, very cool. I love that you're keeping it going.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping to see more of you out there.
Yeah, and then you're going to Tokyo Game Market. I'm jealous. I want to go at some point.
Yeah, it's almost like a annual pilgrimage at this point. That's what others have told me too, right? It's like, wow, the mecca of like all these interesting new games, right?
Yeah,
and especially for me, I'm a huge trick-taking fan, and it's like, 30 of them come out at every single one.
Yeah.
And it's just great to play them all, see how many different ways you can, tweak the trick taking mechanic and come up with something new. Especially there's a famous designer. His name's Taiki Shinzawa. He's made great games, from Twinkle Starship, 9 Lives to Mass Man, which is more climbing checking. But anyways, so yeah, it's great to be able to go back. I missed naturally the one in between, and I believe they had like 26,000 people attend the last one.
Wow.
And they're at a new venue, which I'm not too sure yet, like how different it is from the original one called Tokyo Big Sight. This one's, I'm definitely going to butcher this name, Makuhari Messi is the new venue. So I'm very curious on how it's going to be. And they even had something new, which was this zipper bag game shopping street. So to my point about, really indie game designs, this is like, you can only sell games here if you don't have a box, basically. So it's in a Ziploc bag. Cool. Which is like my game. Yeah. I mean, Golpher was also in like a Ziploc-esque bag. So yeah, they're encouraging this and I'm loving it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then I think there's another game that I had that James Nathan picked up for me at one of the Tokyo game markets. I think it's called like Polygon Windsor. Have you played that one?
Yeah. That's the auction. Is that the auction one? Yes. And is it by the designer of, I want to say like, it's not Nakosu Dice, is it? I forget who the designer is.
Hey, Johnny, I do not even know because I, for a while, had it. And then I was like, I need to get the English rules. So I actually haven't played it, but I'm starting to bring it with me when I go to different conventions so that I can actually get it played because it sounds really neat, but yeah, it kind of came in a plastic bag.
Yeah, and I'm loving that. Yeah, so it is by the designer of Nakosu Dice, actually. Ooh. And he has a new trick-taking game as well called Final Binary, which I've heard a friend almost got to play at a past trick-taking weekend. So close. But yeah, it's great to see that they're still coming out with games.
Awesome. Well, let's get into talking about some of the actual games. So I've never been to Game Market West or Tokyo Game Market, but I either via friends sending me stuff or sometimes designers send me stuff. I have played a couple games that I'll talk about. But first of all, I only played it once, and it was a while ago, Golpher. So, Johnny, your game, Golpher, is a trick-taking game where you're playing golf as these adorable gophers. Like, the art is so cute. And you kind of like, so you set up a course with cards, right? And then when you play tricks, you're using this ruler that has a golf ball, and you're like, pointing it in a direction, and you're gonna have to pick it up from here and explain how the trick resolves, because I don't remember, like, is it whoever wins the number of it is how far the ball goes on the course?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Try to make it as simple as possible so people can remember. But yeah, it's a very simple, like, whoever wins the trick, the number is how far the ball gets hit, essentially. And when you were mentioning the gophers, the little story I like to say is that we're all gophers stacked on top of each other in a trench coat playing golf, right? So
love it. But yeah, it's like, first of all, it's a unique theme. I don't know if I've played another golf related trick taking game. And the fact that you mixed it with gophers is super cool. And I really like, this is one of those zipper bag games, but I really like the tactile, like the little golf ball. Like, it's like a flat white piece of, or like component that like looks like a golf ball. And the ruler is this like green slotted ruler where the golf ball will get, so you could see where the golf ball is getting knocked into. So I just thought that was really neat. And I thank you for the copy. And I thank Tim for asking you to get me a copy while he was there in October. So I'll just say, is that one available? Do you still have copies, or is there a way for people to get it? Or
yeah, so right now I do have a few copies left. So if people want to reach out and DM me specifically on BGG, they totally can to get more copies of it. But I think that might be it once I sell out. So we'll see what happens.
That's the thing with these indie games, sometimes they're really gonna have a one small print run. So get it while it's hot. Cool. Well, I'll let you mention, let's go with one of your games you want to talk about.
Yeah. So for me, I really enjoyed Kansas City, the trick-taking game, and that's by Chris Ray. Yeah, I got to playtest this one while it was in development, and I think that's what makes this game quite special for me is that part specifically, and seeing the evolution of I'm not sure if this is for me, to playing the final product. I was like, wow, this changed a lot, and I absolutely love it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, just to give an overview of the game specifically, it is a trick-taking game where, it's pretty standard, must follow, and you're trying to hit an exact number of tricks to win. Everyone is. The hook of the game is that you can change your fate, essentially, because whenever you lose a trick, you can turn that card into the trump suit by flipping it over, because the card on both sides has a number. It's just the backside is the trump suit. And so you're literally flipping the card face down and saying, hey, this is my trump card now, and no one else can have this exact same. And so that's what really makes it intriguing of am I going to turn more of my hand into trump to win more tricks, but also as a way to almost block others from taking the same kind of trump cards, because they're all unique. All cards have to be unique, so you can't have the same trump.
That's right.
So it's such a simple concept with a twist, but man, it really makes the game, and I quite enjoy it. I think there's also a specific number that if you win, I want to say it's the number 4. If you win tricks of it, if you win tricks with that card in it, then you also get points as well. But it's just
something like that.
Really, it does it super well, and I'm really glad that Chris decided to make it.
I got to play Kansas City at BGG Con last year, and I really, really liked it as well. For those who don't know, Chris Ray also designed Magic Trick, which became Xylotar from Bezier Games. And Xylotar is really cool as well. So Chris just has a bunch of awesome ideas, and he is one that's definitely always creating different games and printing limited copies of them.
Yeah, and Chris also served as an inspiration for me as well in terms of starting game design, right? And for me, I absolutely love trick-taking games, right? To see him do it in his limited spare time, because I know he's a super busy person, and come up with such amazing games inspired me to also create my own.
That's cool. The next game I'm going to mention is another one from Game Market West, number 1. It is called We Need to Talk. And this is a game designed by Brendan Fong, and it plays with 3 to 4 players. And it is really, really fascinating on multiple levels, because literally my good friend Ben Mandelker, I mentioned him a lot, but Ben was like, my friend just told me he designed a trick-taking game. And then Tim, and so Ben is friends with Brendan, and then Tim happened to go to Game Market West, and it was just this crazy surprise. But he brought me back a copy that Brendan hooked me up with, so thank you, Brendan. This is a game about a breakup. And that's why it's called We Need to Talk. And it is a must-follow trick-taking game and a shedding game. So the way it works is you play over 2 phases. And the first phase is all about making memories. So this is the must-follow trick-taking part of the game. And you have the cards you play with in the game are called memory cards. And there are 5 different suits. There's trips and excursions. There's dining and food. There's around the house. There's affection. And then there's a suit that's called awkward moments. So you have 5 suits. I don't remember exactly the range of numbers, but before you start the first phase of the first round, you're going to have 4 cards in the middle of the table face up. And that area is called shared memories, because when you play a 5 into a trick, you're going to get to draft one of those shared memory cards. Another thing is before you start you kick off the trick taking round of making memories, everyone is going to get their hand of cards and pick 3 of them and put them face down. And then once everybody's done that, you simultaneously reveal those. And they are going to just sit out there, but it's data for the shedding phase, which is the second phase. So you're going to play like must follow trick taking game. There's also one of the cards that's randomly flipped that's going to represent the Trump suit. I'll also mention the art is really, really adorable on this game and funny here and there because it uses like stick figure art, but it's like really representing, like it's very thematic to all of the suits, like having different art related to like whatever the suit is. Like around the house, there might be like stick figures doing the Netflix and chill kind of thing. So the art is really cool. And I like the color palette too. Oh, listen to me talking about color palettes because I'm painting minis these days. So you do the trick taking round. When you win tricks, you're going to like put them into your like memory bank, it's called. Basically a stack, because those cards are going to be part of your hand for the second phase of the game. And the second phase is, well, I guess I should say after phase 1, the breakup happens. And so phase 2 is all about shedding memories. Now you don't want those memories. First part of the game, you're making these memories, collecting these memories with the trick taking, and then you break up. So then you want to get rid of those memories and you want to be the first to shed out your hand of cards. There's a twist, though. You have this one card that is saying whether a meld needs to be stronger to win or if it needs to be weaker. And the thing that shifts this arrow that represents like ups and downs of going through a breakup is the awkward moment suit. And so anytime someone plays an awkward moment card into a meld, we're going to flip that direction card and it might flip like mid round, you know, and then someone else could play an awkward moment card. And it's just like these ups and downs. So it's really neat and it's very like thematic. So I think we need to talk. I don't know if Brendan still has copies or what, but it's definitely a unique game and it feels thematic and the art is great. I'm assuming you've played it, Johnny?
Yeah, I've played it. I do know Brendan, and it's great how he was both the designer and artist for this game. I could never do that myself. So props on that alone.
Yeah, seriously.
And I was able to play it while it was being developed as well. And I think the final product is great in terms of how the trick taking is a setup for the shedding. And I really enjoy the shedding because, as you mentioned, Candace, it's very thematic, but I also think there's a lot of room for strategy and decisions that really is a great and an amazing fun time.
Yep, totally. So that one is called We Need to Talk.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see, we're spreading awareness for all these games. For my next one, it's Oishii Food Stall Clash. I think the shorthand is just Oishii, which just means, I believe, delicious in Japanese. And in this game, has amazing cute. I mean, speaking of adorable and amazing art done by the game designer herself. There's over like 100 different illustrations of food in this game, and it just
wow.
My girlfriend can't play this because she says she gets too hungry from playing this. But this game specifically, it's a game about creating almost like, which is kind of, I guess, odd for a kind of street food theme, is that you're trying to almost create like a course of different foods that you're trying to get, which I guess thematically makes sense if you're like trying to hit up specific food stalls, right, in a night market or whatever you may be for street food. And the unique part about this game is that you can play like essentially a combo all at once of all the different foods you want rather than one at a time. And it also uses this really unique part of almost like Zuvadis, where if you trade or effectively give someone one of your ingredients, you can use the special power of their stall, because everyone starts with like a different like food stall. And that can help you get out. And then there's also, I believe, like wild cards, which are basically like sweets or candies that can help you fulfill these contracts, which is basically guess who wants specific courses and whatnot, a lot easier. And so you're naturally trying to get the most money by serving the most courses in some way or foods. And so it all comes together really nicely in this, like, you have enough room to maneuver, you're also interacting with other players, and then it's very thematic and you're drooling half the time.
I gotta look this up so I can see what these cards look like. But is this mainly a card game, or is there a board or anything else?
Yeah, so I think it's only a card game. I don't believe there's anything else. Yeah, I really want to say it's just a stack of like 100, like 20 or so cards.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Yeah. And it's just all these different foods and stalls, and of course the adorable dogs on it. It's like these three, like, I guess I don't know the breed of the dogs, but they're just very cutely drawn.
Oh, nice. So that is called Oishii?
Yep.
Cool. And it actually reminds me of a game that I played when I was at Circle DC I think it was called Hotpot Havoc.
Oh, the one from Taiwan, the trick-taking Hotpot game, yes.
It's not trick-taking. Oh. I think it's like it was like a real-time game where you're trying to collect ingredients for a bowl, but then when one person decides to take the, like, I'm done for the round card, and then the second person does, the next person, like, has to stop, and you're trying to score you're making hot pots with different ingredients, and they're different decks. It was pretty fun. Anyway, that reminded me of your food game.
That sounds like a great time. I mean, Hotpot is thematically, a family together.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's really cool that the designer of Oishii also did all the art, and that there's so much unique art. That must have taken forever.
Seriously.
The next game I'll mention is a game that this is not from Game Market West, but it's a Tokyo Game Market game that the designer Bashir Cannon sent me a copy of, and I realized I never talked about it on the podcast because I think I talked about it on my like PAX Unplugged video or something. But this is a trick-taking game called Trickarus for 2 to 5 players, and it's a play on Icarus. Basically, you have these cards. You'll make a vertical score track with cards that I think goes from like 1 to 9. And at the top, it's the sun. So you're going to be playing a must-follow trick-taking game. And when you win a trick, you're going to move to the next open space on this track. You're going to fly up. And so if there are any other of these little angels, because everybody has their own like little angel meeple, you leapfrog over them to the next spot. And the game is going to end, or I should say the end of the game is triggered when one person's angel hits the sun, meaning they're on spot 9 and then they win a trick. They then bounce all the way back to the space beneath whoever was furthest down on the track. And at the end of that round, that hand of cards, whoever is highest wins. So you have this whole thing where the minute your meeple hits the sun, you go backwards. And so you're trying to like time things out such that when the game is triggered, you can still leapfrog up without going over and getting reset to kind of be at the top. And then there are also a couple little twists. The cards are split. So like the top half has a day side, which is like the suit, the sun suit. And then the bottom half of some cards has or I guess all the cards, I think, have a night side. And I don't remember the breakdown of the rest of the cards, but if it's daytime, which I also don't remember how it changes from day to night, but if it's daytime, the yellow cards are strongest, like a trump suit. And if it's nighttime, the white moon cards are. Then you have 5s are special in this game. So when anybody plays a 5 into a trick, everybody is then going to flip their cards. So I guess I should say, when you play the card, it's a must-follow trick-taking game, and you play with the card in the same direction that everybody else is playing. But then if somebody plays a 5, everybody's cards flip upside down and then you resolve the trick. So there's like room for like some wacky shenanigans. This game also, Trickarus also has a cooperative mode, which I have not tried, but I really like this. Again, another one with really cool art, and it's thinky enough because it's almost like that like Schadenfreude thing where it's like you are trying to time and position yourself to be at the top of the track when the game ends. What did you think of Trickarus? Again, I'm just going to assume you played it.
Yeah, I actually did play Trickarus, definitely, yes. For me, I do completely agree that it has that Schadenfreude feel of like you want to get too close, but not, you don't want to surpass it, and you want to be close at the same time. I think the game that I played specifically, I remember I was like in last place for most of it, and then I all of a sudden shot up and surpassed it and went all the way back down. So that was definitely a very eventful game. But I definitely understand, the little nuances of having different kinds of, those split cards between day and night, and how you can kind of like flip the card strategically to your advantage or maybe not.
Right.
So no, I definitely had a fun time with it.
And that's another one that's like really cute with the theme, like the theme tying back, like Golpher. And we need to talk. The Trickarus, like the idea of making kind of an Icarus themed trick taking game where you have this whole flying up to the sun dynamic. Pretty cool.
Definitely. I know a lot of people have said how hard it is to make very small blocks, especially card games thematic. And it's great to see each one of these have some of the theme at least integrated into the game and mechanisms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, what's your next game?
My next game is from one of my new favorite new favorite designers, Gary. I cannot say for the life of me probably his last name, so I'm gonna skip it.
Okay.
But he designed Shinjuku, which is an amazing route building, pick up and deliver game.
Ooh.
About the city of Shinjuku. And I believe there's an international release coming later this year. I want to say summertime.
Cool.
I'll leave it to him to release those details. And it's mainly card driven, which I really, really enjoy that aspect. But to go back to this game, Juven Isle, It's a tile-laying game where you're trying to create maps of islands, and it's essentially push your luck map building in some sense, because you have a hand of cards that I guess it's Carcassonne style, where you're trying to piece together these islands. And whenever you do so, you can play a scoring token that has these different factions, and every faction that's connected to that specific faction and its port that it's in, you'll score points. And how you score points is you'll be taking cards from the deck that everyone shares for each point you score. And so it's this interesting dynamic of when do you want to score, because you only have a finite amount of scoring tokens, but you're also hoping that others don't not leapfrog, but essentially take advantage of all the tokens that you have put down and score and surpass your score that way. But then another layer on top of it is that the deck will naturally run out of cards, right? And so if it runs out of cards, then you can't score the points, even if let's say you scored 20 points or something like that, which I don't think is possible, but the deck only has 10 cards, then you can only score 10 points essentially. So yeah, it's these different layers of you're trying to maneuver between the two. And I definitely want to play it more because I've only played it once so far, but it's really intriguing to kind of maneuver between that kind of play space and dynamic.
Cool. And did you get this one at Tokyo Game Market, or how did you get this?
I should probably be mentioning where I'm getting these from. So yeah, I got this at the most recent Game Market West. And
Game Market West. Okay,
correct.
Cool.
And that's that was also for Oishii and Kansas City, the trick taking game. I got them all from Game Market West. Very
cool. I'm going to have to check that one out, especially if you said it might be getting a reprint happening.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's Juven Isle. I get it. Juven Isle. Love it. Love it. People are getting really cute with these names. I love it. Really? Trickarus, Juven Isle. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so the next game I'm going to mention is technically a fresh play. My friend Tim, who I mentioned, brought this over, and he had been really excited to play this game by this designer you might know named Johnny Chin. I don't know.
I don't know. I've never heard of that name.
But I got to play Tag You're It. And this is a game that Johnny designed that is really, 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 really cute and cool, because you set up this board with these little tiny hexes that are basically representing different features of a playground. And so thematically, one player is going to start as the one who's it, and the other players are trying to run away from the person who's it. You're trying to avoid getting tagged. Meanwhile, the mechanism of the game is that everybody's going to be action programming their cards, so you all have the same set of cards. And if I recall, the person who's it is going to get to program 4 cards in front of them face down, and then the other players who are the runners are going to put 3 cards face down. And feel free to correct me if I'm getting any of this wrong.
No, you're getting it all right.
Okay. All right. Cool. So then in turn order, and I don't remember if it starts with one of the runners or who has the turn order priority, but one player is going to flip over their first card. And I should also say that on this modular little board of the playground, each player has their own meeple that's representing them. And so you're going to basically flip over your card, and it's going to give you some feature. It might be a grass area, it might be a swing, it might be a slide. But then you flip it over, and then you have to move your meeple to an adjacent space that matches that feature. And sometimes, depending on how the board's set up, you might have multiple options. And then when you play a slide, you may optionally slide into the next space in the same direction that you're moving. So sometimes that'll help you get away from the person who's it. And then the swing lets you, I think, like jump over a space. What does the swing do?
Oh,
again?
the swing just allows you to take an extra turn, essentially.
Oh, yeah, you get to reveal a second card back to back. But meanwhile, everybody's kind of programming their cards at the same time, and then you're revealing one at a time, and you're seeing where these little kid meeples are moving to, and the person who's it is trying to meet at the same space as one of the other people who's running away, so they can then tag them, and then that player becomes it. But the way you win the game, and this is coming from an expert because I've won, I'm undefeated at tag.
Queen of the playground.
Yes, queen of the playground. But the way you score points is when you are not the one who's it, if you move onto a space, so there's like a track of scoring tokens, or I don't remember exactly what they were, if they're cards or tiles, but there are different features that are going to be scored. So if the first one is grass, and I'm able to move onto a grass space, I get to like move my little score marker up one. So you're trying to like synergize matching these features, but meanwhile, and the person who's it knows that, you know, players want to do this. So there are lots of room for mind games with this one, especially as it progresses. And there are some special features that have these like I think red flags that are in the center of the board. And whenever you're able to hit one of those and it scores, you get to jump up 2 points. So, all right, you can fill in any gaps, but I thought that this game was really, really cute. I love that you know, you're programming your moves to run around the playground to play tag. So cute.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, this was my newest release at the latest game market, and I actually had the art. Like I said, I'm artistically challenged. I can never make art like this. But
I love the pastel colors, and yeah, it's super cute.
Yeah, so I had a local artist and friend do the art, and I think a lot of people, to your point, have enjoyed the art. So I'm really happy that he was able to make the art for it. And then to your points about kind of the game itself, I think what makes it stand out from other programming games is that there's a lot more control, right? Usually in a lot of programming games, you're just executing exactly what you've laid out. And this one, you still have a micro decision in some sense that you can deviate from the original route that you had planned out, and you know, you can go another way. It might not go well for you, but you can go another way if you so choose. And I'm sure that, you know, those discoveries and kind of emergent strategy occurred probably throughout your game, which is something that I want to do as well. And then the last thing I'll just say is for the theme itself, I think it helps in the sense that this technically there is asymmetry in this game, but it's like natural, right? Since everyone knows what the game of tag is. And so it helps to fill in some of the gaps to teach the game essentially. So you go like, oh yeah, that's pretty much how I would think it works when people learn the rules. So it's not as much of a, you know, struggle to get into the game. Definitely. And it's more about just playing the game, and in this case, it is a lot of mind games, right?
Yes,
where you're gonna go.
I love mind games.
So yes, I had an amazing time designing this game, and actually, funny story, which I might as well mention it. Yeah. This actually started as a rhythm game, oddly enough, like a rhythm board game.
Whoa.
And it just evolved over time to become more like tag, because there were some tag elements in the start, and there's like a lot of like musical notes and stuff. But I think the fun was very much in the tag, and so I just went full hog into that direction. Yeah.
Super cool. And this would be a good one to pair with like Fort on a game night. Like, I don't know if you've ever played Fort from Leader Games, where your kids trying to like make friends with people, and like you have toy. It's a deck building game. It's really cute.
Yeah, I've seen the art. I haven't played it. I definitely do want to play it, but yes, it would pair well aesthetically, and I think in terms of probably the weight range as well.
Yeah, and do you have more copies of this available, or what's your plan?
Yeah, so for now, I do have a few copies available, but I'm also actively looking for publishers on it as well. So either way, I mean, for now, it's just, if there's a few copies left, if you also want to message me for the remaining copies.
Awesome. So that's Tag, you're it.
Yeah, for my next game, it's Dungeon Post, which is a solo-only game about delivering mail in the dungeon. And I do quite enjoy it because I think it's just a great way to almost start a morning in some sense, because a lot of it is dice rolling, but it's essentially a dice placement game. So after you roll all your dice, right, where do you place your dice to essentially make sure that you can deliver mail and progress towards the goal? And I think it's very simple, right, in terms of like either you're progressing towards your goal or you're not in some sense. And it's just a really nice breezy way to, place to get your day started, but also in some sense start playing solo games. Because I think for me, I don't play that many solo games, if I'm being honest. I feel like this one and For Northwood are probably the main solo only games that I've played before. And so, yeah, it's just it's just a great way to spend like 10-15 minutes when you have it. It's a great travel game as well. Yeah.
Cool. I have not heard of this one, but I love the theme. And I like solo games. And if it's small, like something like For Northwood, that's great. Because you could just pack it with you sometimes, even and play it on the plane or something, or on a train. But yeah, that one sounds cool too. Was that from the latest Game Market West? That's
from the latest Game Market West. And the designer is known for making Quests Over Coffee, I believe. But I was really happy to meet him in person because I think he fits and embodies really what I want the game market to be, like someone who designs games really just to show them off and not necessarily for like any other purpose. It's really just to get his games out there.
Creative ideas out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So that is Dungeon Post. And then I guess because I don't really have any other Game Market West games to talk about, but I will just give a quick shout out to FUCAZUL. FUCAZUL, I mentioned it, I think after BGG Con on the podcast, but this is an indie designer, I believe from Brazil, who sent me a copy of this, and it's a game all about Beetles, like Volkswagen Beetles, and in the box with the components, there are just cards and I think some meeples and also just some wooden card tokens. But it has 3 games in one, which is neat. And the designer is Diego Antunes. And one of the games is a racing trick-taking game, which I don't remember exactly how it plays, but it was very unique. And I just, again, love seeing all these different ideas and people making these small games that are, feel unique, have like neat little catchy themes. And then also I know that Jonathan Cox from formerly John Gets Games, I think now it's called Getting Games.
Yep.
He also has a game that I forget if it was signed or not, or if New Mill is putting it out, but it was called Spring Cleaning. And I really like that as well. It's a trick-taking game where everybody has some cards in front of them, and it like represents like you're putting stuff on your front lawn that you want to get rid of, and you're hoping other players pick it up. That was just another one. I don't think I have a copy of it, but I've played a prototype of it, and I thought that was really cool. And again, Jonathan's into trick-taking games, so he made a few, and that's That's really cool, and I love that these like kind of indie, because Daniel Newman has the indie night market that happens at PAX Unplugged. I love it. It's just, giving people opportunity to be creative and just get their ideas out there.
Definitely. Yeah, I know that game. And actually, yeah, I think it's been signed by Bezier and it's going to be rethemed as like a haunted mouse, I believe. I think it is up on BGG. So it's like a very cute. It's actually a very cute mouse on the cover, to be fair. But yeah, I've also enjoyed my play of that game and totally agree with the notion of that. If you have an idea, you can definitely go for it.
Yeah. And I also, just a shout out for Bezier, like I love that Bezier, and I don't know if it's because Jay works there now, Jay Bernardo from Cardboard East, but like they're doing more and more trick-taking games. Like the new deluxe version of Rebel Princess is awesome, and there's a sequel to it coming out. And then it's like Xylatar, which was Chris Ray's magic trick re-implementation. And Ted has a game, what is it called? Sandbag?
Yep.
I only played Sandbag once, and that was weird. I need to revisit that one.
And then they also have Taylor's.
Oh, Sears Catalog. Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. So it's exciting that they're doing more. And honestly, like more publishing companies are like starting to like get trick-taking games. They're realizing how many people out there love trick-taking games. And so we're going to keep seeing more of them.
And that's exactly what I want.
Yeah. Our plan is working, Johnny.
It really is.
Cool. And you have one more game you want to mention?
Yeah. So the last game I want to mention is Matcha. So it's a strategy and memory game. And speaking about mechanisms making a comeback, memory, there's been a ton of great memory games.
Yes.
Come out, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But Matcha specifically is a 2-player only version where they have these like really nice poker chips that have like a matcha icon on top of them, and essentially
like the matcha tea, like the green teas.
Yes. And so it's all everything's green and whatnot. And so really you're trying to kind of flip over certain numbers that add up to, I believe it's 8, in order to win the game. And it's just this nice, there's definitely a lot more nuances of like where you can and cannot flip over. But I think it's a really nice way to kind of get a 2-player game played, but also see these new wave and mechanics of like memory come back. And I don't know, it's just really well done in a nice package, and I enjoyed my time playing it.
That's cool. I just recently played Banana Boy versus Unicone.
No.
Talking about another indie designer, Charlie. I cannot remember Charlie's last name at the moment, but that was a wacky memory style game that will mess with your brain.
Totally. I've heard of it. I definitely do want to try it out. I really enjoyed Charles' previous game, Sky Towers.
Oh, yeah. Sky Towers is fantastic, too. And this is just only a fraction of the indie games that are out there. I think I mentioned it after PAX Unplugged, but, Daniel Newman hosted the indie night market, and that just kind of blew up. And there were like lots of really unique games there. But I think the other thing I just thought about that's really cool about like Game Market West and all of these like indie game events is that, it's giving designers an opportunity to make a game and, do a limited print run without having to like use crowdfunding. Because like not everybody is going to be Kickstarter or BackerKit, whatever, savvy, nor like that's a different type of pressure or something for new designers to get their games on crowdfunding. And there's a lot that goes into it. So it's nice that people who are indie designers can make a game, sign up for events like Game Market West, and get their game out there quickly,
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I think the difference there is when you're on crowdfunding, you become more of a publisher, right? It's really a full-fledged business versus these indie game markets. It's a lot more about the design of your game, and we all come together on the same platform, and it's like a rising tide lifts all ships kind of situation. So that's a great point to make.
Cool. Well, thanks, Johnny. Thanks for joining me today. I mean, this was really great. I hope to actually make it to Game Market West at some point. I haven't been up in the Bay Area in a while, and I'm overdue. But also, just congrats on the games that you're creating and getting out there, because Golpher and Tag Your It are both fantastic and unique. And I love that you're organizing Game Market West so that other designers can get their games out there. I think that's just super cool.
Yeah, it's totally my pleasure. And I've really enjoyed doing it. And even though it's definitely a ton of work to be dual duty at the game market, right, to be the organizer and run around
and also
others.
have your games,
and also have my games. It's just I really enjoy this community that has started, and I hope it grows to everyone's pleasure.
Yeah, and I think maybe even for people who can't make it out, it might be worth, and I don't know if this exists already, but it might be worth making a geek list, and then whoever posts their games on the geek list can say how to get a copy if it's still available, or if it, just kind of give the status of stuff so more people can get access to some of these very unique indie productions.
That's an excellent idea. I will actually do that right after this.
Awesome. Well, great talking to you, Johnny, and thanks again.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It's been an honor and pleasure.
You've been listening to the Board Game Geek podcast, produced and edited by Candace Harris. Special thanks to Matt Fonda for editing and mixing our music. Be sure to visit us on the web at BoardGameGeek.com. You can also find us on YouTube, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch under Board Game Geek. You can reach us by email at podcast@BoardGameGeek.com. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming!